One data center in the American state of Georgia quietly used nearly 30 million gallons of water without properly reporting or paying for it. And local residents only discovered it after their own taps started losing pressure. What began as a simple neighborhood complaint has now turned into a much bigger debate about artificial intelligence, giant tech infrastructure, and whether modern cities are truly prepared for the massive resource demands of the digital age. The controversy exploded after county officials discovered that a huge data center campus operated by Quality Technology Services, or QTS, had industrial-scale water hookups that were either not properly monitored or not billed at all. Residents were especially furious because, while ordinary families were being told to conserve water during drought conditions, one of the largest industrial facilities in the region was consuming enormous amounts almost unnoticed. Now the incident is becoming a warning sign for communities across the United States as the global AI boom drives an explosion in the construction of data centers that require staggering amounts of electricity, cooling systems, and water to operate. The story began in Fayetteville, Georgia, where residents in the Annalise Park neighborhood started noticing weak water pressure in their homes. At first, many assumed it was a temporary utility issue. But when county officials investigated, they uncovered something far bigger. Two massive water hookups connected to a nearby QTS data center campus had reportedly not been properly accounted for. One connection had allegedly been installed without clear notice to the water utility, while another had somehow been left off the company's billing account entirely. County officials later estimated that more than 29 million gallons of water had gone unbilled, resulting in a charge of nearly $150,000. The timeline remains disputed. County officials estimated about 4 months of unpaid use, while QTS argued the issue stretched over a longer period because of technical complications related to smart meter systems. The company eventually paid the charges after being informed of the problem, and local authorities later said the oversight had been corrected. But by then, the public anger had already exploded. One resident obtained the county's official letter through an open records request and shared it online, turning the issue into a political and social controversy almost overnight. What made the situation especially explosive was the timing. Georgia had already been struggling with environmental stress, drought concerns, and even wildfires. Earlier in the year, Governor Brian Kemp had declared a state of emergency as fires spread across parts of the state. At the same time, ordinary residents were being encouraged to limit lawn watering and reduce household water use. So, when people learned that tens of millions of gallons had gone effectively untracked at a giant industrial site, many felt there was a double standard. Residents asked a simple question: if ordinary citizens are expected to conserve resources, why are huge corporations not being monitored more carefully? The frustration became even stronger because county officials chose not to fine QTS, beyond charging for the missing water usage. Some experts said that was unusual. UCLA water policy expert Gregory Pierce noted that utilities often impose penalties when customers violate rules involving industrial-scale resource use. But local officials defended their response, arguing that the situation appeared to involve operational confusion rather than deliberate misconduct. The county's utility director even admitted that staffing shortages may have contributed to the oversight. Still, many residents saw the incident as proof that local governments may not be fully prepared to regulate the enormous demands created by the rapidly growing data center industry. And that industry is growing at extraordinary speed. Data centers are becoming some of the most important pieces of infrastructure in the modern economy because they power cloud computing, online services, artificial intelligence systems, social media platforms, financial networks, and massive digital storage operations. But behind the sleek image of AI and advanced technology lies a very physical reality. These facilities consume huge amounts of energy and water. Water is especially important because servers generate intense heat and must be constantly cooled to avoid overheating. In many places, cooling systems rely heavily on water-based technologies. The Fayetteville campus itself is enormous. The site reportedly covers 615 acres and could eventually contain up to 16 separate buildings, making it one of the largest data center projects in the United States. Supporters argue that projects like this bring jobs, tax revenue, and economic growth. Local governments are often eager to attract them because they can generate millions of dollars annually through property taxes and infrastructure investment. But critics increasingly argue that the hidden environmental and social costs are not discussed enough. Every new data center places additional strain on electricity grids, water systems, roads, and public infrastructure. As AI technologies continue expanding worldwide, demand for data centers is expected to rise dramatically over the next decade. That is why this controversy in Georgia matters far beyond one county or one company. Around the world, governments are racing to position themselves as leaders in artificial intelligence and digital technology. Tech companies are investing billions into building new server farms capable of handling massive amounts of data processing. But many communities are only beginning to realize what these facilities actually require to function. In some parts of the United States, local residents are already raising alarms about water shortages, rising electricity demand, and environmental pressure linked to large-scale data centers. Similar debates are happening in Europe, Asia, and parts of the Middle East as countries compete to attract AI investment while also facing growing climate and infrastructure concerns. Critics argue that many communities approve these projects based mainly on promises of economic growth, without fully calculating the long-term costs to public resources. They warn that if governments fail to establish stronger rules now, ordinary residents could eventually face higher utility bills, resource shortages, or strained public services while giant corporations continue expanding. Supporters of the industry respond that advanced technology is essential for economic competitiveness, and that future improvements in cooling efficiency and renewable energy could reduce environmental pressure over time. The Georgia incident has already triggered some political reaction. In April, the Fayetteville City Council voted to temporarily pause new data center construction in the area, while officials review local regulations and infrastructure concerns. Across the country, more communities are now discussing tougher requirements before approving future projects. These proposals include mandatory public reporting of water and energy use, stricter environmental reviews, penalties for unauthorized hookups or excessive resource consumption, and stronger investment in utility staffing and monitoring systems. Some experts also argue that companies should be required to use cleaner energy sources and more efficient cooling technologies to reduce pressure on local resources. But the larger challenge may be balancing technological growth with basic public needs. Artificial intelligence is becoming one of the defining industries of the 21st century, and demand for computing power is rising at incredible speed. Governments want the economic benefits that come with hosting these facilities. Companies want faster expansion to stay ahead in the AI race. Yet local residents are increasingly asking whether communities are sacrificing too much in return. In the end, the controversy in Fayetteville is about far more than missing water bills. It represents a growing global question. As the digital world expands faster than ever before, who controls the resources that make that expansion possible, and who ultimately pays the price when oversight fails?